My name is Dan Dorval, and I'm President and CEO of Dorval and Chorne Financial Advisors. I am an independent certified financial planner and author of my book, Financial Success for the Rest of Us, Reality-Based Financial Planning for Mainstream America.
Hi, my name is Leah Woodley. I'm an associate financial advisor with Dorval and Chorne Financial Advisors. Our conversations discuss what it means to do quality of life planning in all areas of your life.
Dan, we had a lot of meetings this week. Anything you want to share with what came up this week in the meetings that you worked on?
Well, one of the things that we do a lot are seminars for the Minnesota Nurses Association. And I've done these for 20 years. We've had thousands of people come to our seminars. They're primarily geared towards nurses that are getting closer to retirement. So it's talking about their pension and financial planning associated with that major life transition into retirement. And one of the things we talk about a lot is the idea of focusing on personal quality of life, which means something different for everybody that we help. And yet the world around us does a lot of generalizations, and there might be online calculators, or a lot of 401k custodians have these pictures of you're sunny or you're cloudy or it's raining or whatever. And it generates a lot of anxiety for people, but yet we as human beings, we love validation. And so we look to these online tools and we think, well, am I doing okay? Am I not doing okay? Am I average? Am I on track? We hear these things all the time. And in the presentation, I spent a few minutes talking about how much you need to maintain quality of life when you retire, and how that's not some sort of a general rule of thumb. It's very specific to the people that we're helping. And I went through, for example, if your mortgage is paid off and you're completely debt free, it is amazing how little you need to be able to maintain a good quality of life. And yet, at the same time, if somebody maybe has a big mortgage, they have car payments, they have other debts that are out there, they might need a lot in retirement to maintain that quality of life. And it might be a much more complicated process. Well, as I go through this and I say it's all personal, it's all custom, the first question I get from a nurse is, I know you said that everything is personal, but I went into an online calculator and it says I need 70% of my pre-retirement income to retire comfortably. Does that sound like a good amount to you? And it's just amazing to me to hear that, because I just got done talking through that whole process. And yet that noise of the world around us is so powerful that even though they heard it, even though they even referenced it in their question, they still want that kind of general guideline to feel like they're part of the herd or part of the group. I'm like everyone else, instead of being personal and thinking about just me.
Yes, we actually see that so often where people are told by, well, my coworkers told me that I should be doing this, or I saw this on this website, and my retirement account tells me it's a rainy day for my retirement. So that is something that comes up so frequently, and it's so hard to change people's perspectives when it comes to quality of life and everyone having their own unique situation. It can be really challenging at times to get through to people. Like, you have your own unique situation and your own unique life, your own unique goals. It's really something that I wish people would really take to heart and not focus so much on what the world is saying and the noise around them.
We find it's particularly challenging for nurses. I mean, most of the people we help are women. A lot of them are mothers, so they've got children, and they're inherently caregivers to begin with. And so, as nurses, they're always thinking about someone else, whether that's thinking about their patients, thinking about their family. And so, when we talk about retirement or other quality of life goals for them, they now have to have this like inward looking approach that doesn't come naturally to them. And so the idea of being a caregiver and thinking about others, it can complicate financial planning because your own personal goals take a back seat to everybody else.
You're absolutely right. We see that frequently where we ask a nurse, well, what do you want? And they kind of get stuck. You're so right about that. I think it's worth sometimes just taking a step back and thinking about what you want in all stages of your life. We meet with young nurses, we meet with more senior nurses, and sometimes you just need that moment to reflect on what is important to you, what matters to you. And, you know, like you said, it doesn't come natural because the demographic that we serve are naturally caretakers and want to see make sure everyone else is okay. But it's kind of like when you get on the airplane, they say, put that breathing mask on you first and then help the other person. And so it's great to get clear on what's important to you as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know you were in another meeting and you were discussing retirement contributions. Can you tell me more about that?
So we met with a 51-year-old nurse, and we met with her a few years ago. She is a single parent. Her son is now 9 years old. She works very hard to take care of their family, as you might imagine, with us being a single parent on a single income. And, as we walked through what was changing in her life and what was important to her, the two primary things she talked about were, I would really like to do a remodel of our kitchen and bathroom because we're in our house all the time. This is our quality of life. This is what we do. And it's an older house and we wanted to update some of those things. And of course, remodeling is expensive. And then the other thing was she was talking about her son loves Harry Potter. And one of her big goals with him turning 10 this coming year is she wanted to take him to Universal Studios and to Harry Potter World. And that was a major goal for her. But yet at the same time, she doesn't have unlimited money. So she has to think in terms of what are my primary priorities, motivations, and goals. And the whole purpose of financial planning, and this is lost on a lot of people, the whole purpose of financial planning is to have consistently good quality of life over an entire lifetime. We want these people to have good quality of life today. We want them to have good quality of life in the future, whatever that means to them. So in her case, we started looking through like, how do we prioritize her resources to accomplish these quality of life goals? Well, she was putting 11% into her 403B at work. And yet at the same time, I was able to show her that her pension plus her eventual Social Security was likely going to provide as much income to her in retirement after taxes as what she currently clears right now. And yet her expenses will be lower in retirement. So I could show her retirement without all of those contributions going into her 403B was going to be okay. And what that did is it allowed us to shift that focus from the future where she was being inundated with noise around her telling her, you need to save more, you need to save more, you need to save more. And I was able to get her to come back to now and say, hey, why don't we reduce your 403B down to the amount that you need to get a match, which for her is 2%, and then she gets a 1% match. Use the extra cash flow to accumulate money more quickly to actually pay off one debt she has and then anticipate going into debt for this home remodel, but also to accumulate cash for this very important trip to her that she wants to take within the next year. And I showed her how that amount was enough to accomplish the quality of life goals today and still show her she was going to be okay in the future. And for her, the first response was, Dan, you're freaking me out because she thinks save more, save more, save more. And I'm telling her it's okay for a period of time to not save as much.
Yes, that kind of goes back to this seminar, people are hearing noise. People are hearing, I must save for retirement. I need $1 million in my retirement account in order to be able to retire. They're hearing so much noise. So when you say something that is contrary to what everyone else is saying, it can be challenging for them to accept. And we see that all the time. Sometimes we meet with nurses who are trying to purchase a home, and we may tell them to temporarily cut back on their retirement in order to save for that goal. That's one of the biggest quality of life goals that they'll ever have. And it's like contrary to what they're being told. So they kind of get stuck on that point. But it is absolutely okay to cut back on your retirement for a period of time in order to achieve your quality of life goals. And like you said, you have to focus on the aspect that you're still saving in some way or form, especially if your employer offers a match, you're still saving. I know one suggestion we make when people are a little hesitant to cut back is to turn on that auto increase feature on their retirement plan, so that it doesn't feel like, oh, I'm doing nothing.
Well, and even I shared a personal story with her because as a career changer, when we had our kids, we cut from 2 incomes down to 1 income, and I didn't have consistent income. And so for a period of time, getting into a house where we wanted to raise our children and some of these other very important things to us, that took priority. I did not personally save into a retirement plan for many years as we used our income to accomplish other priorities that were more important at that time. But we had saved a lot before we had kids when we were 2 incomes. And then after our kids got older and we had, more income and we were doing better, I went back into saving. So this idea that life has to be this exact straight line, life is messy. And so being
Yes,
able to tell them that it's okay, essentially give them permission to be able to do something different than what their friends and family and coworkers are telling them. For a lot of them, that's the most powerful, impactful advice we can give, is that perspective from outside of them saying, hey, why can't you do it this way? And then they kind of, the light bulb goes off and they go, hey, that's amazing. And so she was
right.
super appreciative of the advice we gave her because she would have never thought that way.
Right, right. Because she's been trained not to think that way. And it's excellent that we can provide that value to the people that we meet with. Thank you for sharing your insight on what went on this week. I'm sure there will be many more tips that we can share with our audience on what we see every day that may be able to be applied to their own lives. Thank you.
Thanks, Leah.